you getting them from? Ah. Where did candy come from? Oh, really? That was nice. It was a dirty job.
Thank you. Item 3 is a pledge for a citizen, or invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. We have a 5-minute time limit per person. Anyone wanting to speak during this agenda item must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. Any requested action items must be scheduled for a future meeting date. And I don't see anybody who wants to address us. Number 4 is approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or amendments to the agenda?
We will need to add onto the exec session SDCL 12526 for discussion on security.
Duly noted. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments on the agenda? Any comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We have an approved agenda. It passed. Item 5 is the consent agenda items. We have approval of the minutes with documents, approval of travel requests, approval of personnel action notices with documents, approval of cellular authorizations, approval of the human services report with documents, and approval of outside employment requests with documents. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any comments on any or questions on anything on the consent agenda items? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6, routine business. We have A is approval of the claims. Is there a motion to approve? We have documents for that. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any comments on the claims? Any questions or comments on the claims? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Boersma. Aye. Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B is the finance officer's report. We don't have, Lori, are you ready to go right away? Let's go. We've got some, we'll just do your report first.
Officer's report.
Yep.
I'm hoping you have no questions. Okay.
Just the one thing we did hand out this morning on the motor V collections and breakdown. In the packet, it said October, and that was just a mistake. It's actually November. So what I handed out this morning is exactly what's in the packet, just with the corrected title on it. So
Are we talking about the revenue stuff now or when you do your report?
not part of this report, no.
Okay. So I just had a question on our revenues. It looks like our revenues are up through the first 11 months of 2020. Is that accurate?
I would say,
Okay.
it kind of goes in line with our tax sale. Do you want me to do my report for the office right now?
Sure.
Okay. It kind of goes in along with the tax sale we had yesterday. We had 9 bidders or buyers come, and it went really well, and they purchased a total of just about $291,000. So taking that in, we really only have about $6,000 that are unclaimed, unpaid for 2019 payable in 20, which is the best we've ever had. So money is coming in.
Would
Yeah.
you say that dollar amount again? I want to remember.
291,000.
And the amount that we have for unpaid taxes?
Unpaid is about 6,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really good. So it's probably the best totals we've had. So we're busy working on doing those certificates. Audra's learning those, so it might take a bit longer for the owners to get those, but it'll get done, and so it went well. We're getting all the bank accounts squared away with proper signatures and authorizations. So I think we have one left to do. We've been busy with Stacy with budgets. That's coming to an end, kind of, and then it'll just start end of the year stuff. So it's kind of just revolves around and around. I completed the high performance workshop. It was very time consuming, but I think that what I got out of it was well worth it, and I would really suggest it. And before the next meeting, we'll have started end of the year stuff, so hopefully that will go smoothly. Everything has so far. We're moving right along schedule, so.
Great. Any other questions? If not, thank you, Lori.
Yep.
Brian, Highway Department?
First, I had a WebEx from 1 to 3:30 in regards to the final design inspection of the 20th Street overpass. And like mentioned before, the 34th Avenue, we discussed first in the meeting, and it looks like the drainage questions that I had, looks like they're answered. We talked about the speed limit and the design criteria, and the design criteria that they have in place is for 55 miles an hour. So the 35 mile an hour design speed that will be posted out there addresses that. As far as the site distances go, we talked about that in depth. And then also I mentioned the 22nd Avenue intersection and the lack of room for the tractor trailers making the turn, but it sounds like the city is going to be tackling that. So I guess the questions that I addressed in my previous comments were addressed at that meeting. So I was happy that I sat in on that WebEx. I guess it looks to be like it's moving along fairly smoothly, and I'm glad that they took the time to answer my questions. December 4th, I had a conference call with the DOT in the Watertown office in regards to our striping program. And the final negotiations on the painting, we ended up with the contractor forfeiting the troubled areas. And we will not be charged, nor the state. That still doesn't leave us with a resolve of what we have out there with our striping. But I did question on what we could do and what could feasibly be done and without damage to our investment. The DOT felt that there was nothing that we could do without damaging our fresh chip seal. So if we give it a year or two, I'm thinking the stripes are probably going to be pretty much gone, and then we can start from scratch to straighten them out. So I was happy that we didn't have to pay for that, even though that we split the cost with the DOT. I was not very happy with the project, and my goal out of that conversation was to not happen in the future. I know not only our county invests heavily in our maintenance programs, but other counties do, and just speaking on behalf of the highway superintendents of the state, I felt that we shouldn't have to pay for that. December 8th, I met with Clark Engineering and Jason Reeves with the South Dakota chapter of American Concrete Pavement Association on County Road 23. I know that I've gotten some comments from the public that they're starting to see some spall areas out there, and we have some longitudinal cracking. And that pavement was laid down in 2003, and we haven't had to do much of any maintenance at all. So I feel that, and so does engineers and Jason Reeves, that now is the time to look at repairing that. So what I'm gonna get prepared for you guys is some options. First and foremost, we want to take care of the structural issues that we're seeing. There's some manhole covers that are within the city limits of Aurora. Then there's also just a few areas where it's kind of spalling out and cracking up. I'd like to get those taken care of first. And then the second issue that we had spoke of is the profile of that road. If you watch a truck go down that road, it seems like, you know, you can just watch them bounce. And that's no more than a ride quality aspect, but it can be corrected, but it's very expensive. So what I'm going to present to you guys is a couple of options if we want to pursue that. But first and foremost, we want to get taken care of the issues with the cracking, and then I'll present the ride quality aspects and what we can do there to try to remedy that. So there'll be a couple of options coming down the pipe on that. December 9th, met with the DOT and Bridge Design Office on a few structures that we're going to be talking about here later on in the meeting that we're going to be applying for preliminary engineering grants for. I listed the structures out below. I know I have 4 there, but we're only going to be applying for 3 here come January 1st. So we got the site visits with the local design office out of Pier completed. Banner was there, and then also some staff from out of Brookings' office here. And other issues that we've been working on, we're continuing to work on our checklist items that we received from Banner and Associates as far as our bridge inspections and some of the deficiencies they found with, a lot of it was repairing and replacing some riprap and some other minor repairs. And then we've been continuing to cut trees, and this is one of the deals that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I know I've gotten a lot of questions, and I'd like to cover a codified law that I've been sharing with a lot of the individuals that call, why are we cutting trees within the right-of-way? 3131-1, South Dakota Codified Law, weed removal on state or county roads. The Department of Transportation and the Board of County Commissioners of various counties shall cut or remove or cause to be cut or removed grass, weeds, and brush growing within the right-of-way of all public highways within their respective jurisdiction, and over which such department and boards exercise control as to repair and maintenance. A violation of this section is a petty offense. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I've been getting a lot of questions. Why are we cutting the trees? We haven't gotten the weather to do it. We've been blessed with some very, very good weather these last couple months, and getting to this is going to help us with snow traps to prevent the drifting on the road. I know that it seems like we're going back a long ways, but we're going to the fence lines. And we have been working with landowners, talking with them before we go in there. And one of the things we've been working with them on is getting a place so we don't have to interrupt the traffic flow. You know, we might have to fall the tree onto the road, but if we can move it off into the field to kind of cut it up and get it processed so we can get it to the dump is what we've been doing. So as far as us cutting the smaller brush and trees, I know that I just wanted to address that with you guys, that codified law does exist. Now, it's a little different on townships. I've also gotten comments from the townships, well, now everybody's going to expect us to do it. Well, the codified law reads that the landowners are responsible for it on the township roads, so they have that option there to do it either way. But as far as the county or the state goes, I know this is what we're responsible for.
What's been the response from the landowners working with them? Have they been open to having those trees gone? Are they causing them problems?
It seems like for the most part, we've been getting about a 95%, satisfaction rate. You know, a lot of the landowners that have commented to me on it is now they can see if traffic's coming. You know, and that's one of the deals too. If we're blocking the view, it becomes a safety issue. So, is there any questions on that?
I just want to say, I think this is so important, and I'm glad you're doing it. We've let that slide a little bit, and what happens is people get sentimental attachment to those trees, and it is a safety issue, and they shouldn't be growing in the right-of-ways, and I'm glad that you're working on that.
And I'm glad that we've had the weather to do this, because it is something that I've noticed that we've been behind on. So,
I just like to comment that I think it looks great where you've done the work. Like you say, the weather's permitted you to do that. Probably 10 years ago, we worked on it because we had a similar situation. Guys were able to go out there and clean back areas. And I know you've been working with some landowners on trees that overhang the road that come from private property. I think you've had good response from the landowners permitting you to cut those trees. It makes a world of difference. You get a storm event or a high wind, then the highway department's getting called out after hours to clear these trees from the roadway. And if you can get ahead of the game, it surely helps with their after-hour calls also.
and that being mentioned, you know, we did focus on the areas that we seen that we had the most problems first, and we focused on those areas because we noticed primarily when the storms would come through, we'd always have to respond to them areas. And having the landowners help with this is definitely kept the traffic moving. We've been doing our traffic control just like we would if we were doing something else. We've treated this no different. And obviously safety is the utmost, and knock on wood, we haven't gotten anybody hurt. Because as just going to use yesterday, I kind of called off tree removal yesterday because the wind was blowing 35, 40 miles an hour. So we're trying to do this as safe as possible and work with the landowners. I know I've gotten a couple of calls, well, why didn't you let me know? Well, because of this codified law, it's within our right-of-way. If there's issues, I will address them at that time. So, any other questions on that? And finally, the big one here, December 16th, we held our pre-construction meeting for the Brookings County Structure 06-120-153 north of Bruce. I allowed Sioux Falls Construction to get started with the installation of some of their signing for the detours. I know I've gotten quite a few questions on this. The construction, we're still looking at starting January 4th. All the utilities are out of the way now. I've also, as previously mentioned, been working with Preston Township, and one of the main reasons, and I've been working with Bob on this, is our emergency services. We're trying to make it so they have as short as route as possible to get to the north side of that structure. And I felt this road here, working with the township, that this was the shortest possible way for us to also get north of this structure. And like I said, we'll be maintaining that 2-mile stretch. And then obviously we have our regular detour, but this is the road that I feel will give the emergency services or the local traffic the shortest distance around that bridge. I know the township's very happy with, you know, their response as far as telling people, you know, this is the road that they're going to be maintaining, this is the one we want you to use. And that's where I wanted to get with them, is so we had one road that we would maintain during the construction process. And I felt that the locals up there have been very happy with how we've been addressing that. And then as far as timeline goes, I wanted to talk about that with the commission. I know I've provided you some contact information, so if you guys get questioned, well, who's working on this? Sioux Falls Construction, or Journey Group is the name of the contractor. Banner and Associates will be administering the project, And then also there's a list of subcontractors in there, and they have a very aggressive timeline. We're looking at starting January 4th, and if the weather holds out, they're looking at the end of May. So there again, this a lot depends on the weather, but still very aggressive. I would look at, even if it got pushed back into June or early July, that's well before harvest. I think that starting this project now with the weather that we've had, granted, I know we've got a little system coming in tomorrow and a little cold snap here, but it looks like it's supposed to warm up after that. So is there any questions on that?
Any questions? Okay. Nope.
So we'll be getting advertisements out. I know I've been working with Stacy and Michelle, and I've been working with Bob to get the notifications out that this project's gonna be starting. Like I said, about 2 weeks here, we're gonna have another bridge under construction.
All right. Any other questions?
I was just wondering
Commissioner
if you've
Pierce.
heard anything.
No, I have not. We've been pushing the DOT along, and that's kind of where it's stuck at. I wish I could give you a definitive answer, because I want one too.
One quick question. The 77 bridges, there was a comment last time turning around that it's very tight in there. And I drove by that, and it really is. I don't know if we're gonna have anybody get stuck in there or not with a tractor trailer. Were we gonna try to rectify that? I know it drops off pretty steep right on the edge of it. It's not like we can just move it out further.
I had mentioned it earlier that, none of the work got done in that intersection.
Right, okay.
So that is an issue that we have some money if we don't tear up that whole intersection, that we could possibly widen it. There's no way to widen it to the north because of the guardrail and the FHWA standards, federal highway standards. But if we could widen that intersection a little bit to the south, we could maybe even look at putting a turn lane in there to get that. I've talked with John Ritterhouse in regards to that. It might not be part of the project, but since we have a little money left over, since we didn't do that intersection, we had talked about that. Because of the federal highway standards, that guardrail, it used to hug tighter in there, but the guardrail, if somebody hit it coming up from the south, it'd be kind of an abrupt stop. Now it'd just kind of deflect them off,
No, it's tight. And
It is very tight, but
I just
there
don't know if
again, we do have to do work in that intersection.
if we can maybe give them a chance to round it into there when you're coming from the west to go north.
Yep.
And I guess the main concern probably will be snow removal within that area. It'll be, if there's any way to stop the snow before it gets there, it'd be nice to put some
Right.
snow fence or something, but I think it's kind of low out there. But
It's very low out there. We're looking at about, 10 to 15 feet between the roadway elevation and the riverbed essentially elevation.
But that's kind of the problem with the new guardrail design, is it's a snow fence. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's low.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sheriff Marty. All right.
Morning, Commission.
Morning, Bart.
I know you're pressed through this. We've got, currently we've got 18 in custody, and then 4 additional that we're monitoring that are under house arrest GPS. We've got 2 in custody right now that we've got under quarantine. They tested positive for COVID-19. I think we did pretty well with that. We went almost 9 months without, incidents inside the jail. So I think we did pretty good on keeping clean. I think it was just inevitable it was going to catch up to us sooner or later. We are screening twice a day of all of the inmates, making sure, we get one done in the morning and one in the evening. That way we can get a heads up if anybody's starting to feel ill. We started our new PBT kiosk December 1st, and that is going well. It was received very well by our clients, and went off pretty much without a hitch. We're working on finances, make sure that we keep our checks and balances right, to make sure we got, it's a little bit of a problem right now. Not really a problem, but we've got money that we take in from one side of the program, and like we used to, and then we got money coming in from the kiosk, and those two programs don't talk to each other yet. They're working on that so that both of those programs will talk to each other, and then it'll run very smooth. In the meantime, we've just got to watch the money to make sure we account for everything, and it's going good. Last week, might have been a week and a half ago, our jail nurses worked on getting 80 COVID-19 rapid tests in from South Dakota Department of Health. So we've got those to be used by our jail nurses to test for in-house at the jail for any inmates that are symptomatic. That keeps us from having to run them up to the hospital, or the nurses having to run up to the hospital, get the test, bring it back to the jail. It's saving us some time there, so that's good. Just a little bit of an update on our construction. Over the next 3 months, keep watch. Things are going to really go pretty fast, I think. We get our precast walls arrive January 4th, so just a couple of Mondays from now. They'll be working on that all of January. It appears that in January they'll start with some of the other structure. They plan on having a roof on the place before the cells show up. The cells start showing up the first week of March, and they're going to leave out a section of the wall. I think they said on the east side, Mr. Bartley?
Yeah, it was on the east side.
Yeah, so they'll leave a section of the wall, of the precast wall, out. They'll pour a cement pad in there that they will move the cells in that way and put them up into where they go. So it'll be interesting to watch. I figured they'd be lowering them in by a crane, but they want to get this thing under roof soon. That way we don't have to worry about snow, and I can't imagine having the walls up and all the snow coming in and trying to move the snow out to work on the place. So this is the best they came up with, and it'll just be interesting to watch over the next couple of months. I think that's all I got.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think what they said is they would stack 2 of the cells and then roll them in, put them in place, and then they'll do their leveling process.
Yep.
Once they get them in place. So it'll be 2 at a time as they go through the process. So it'll take a couple of weeks to get those cells in there once they arrive. So Commissioner Pierce, you have a question?
I do. On the 2 inmates post-sentencing,
They're pre.
and do we have a plan? If we end up, and I'm not saying these 2, but if we end up with somebody that is positive, that's going to end up being hospitalized, do we have a plan for how we're going to try to get them released from detention so we're not paying the medical costs for a ventilator and that kind of thing? Or what are we doing with that?
I think we're going to have to approach that on a case by case. When we came down with that issue here a few weeks ago with having the virus inside the jail, we worked with the state's attorney's office and the judges to get those that we could get released out. The rest of the ones that we've got in custody are high risk, and they're on some pretty serious charges. So if it came down to where we had to hospitalize them, that's something we're going to have to visit at that time, and it's going to be on a case by case.
Because those would be tremendous expenses.
It would be tremendous, but I don't know, we really want them just turned loose. It'd be something
other-
we'd have to do on a case by case. And Dan knows who we've got left in custody, and we've got some pretty nasty charges left in the jail at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions for Bart? Any other information from the sheriff? Okay, good.
Thanks for
All
your
right,
time.
thank you very
I'm on
much.
the clock.
You're perfect on your timing. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to have an update on bridge inspections from Collins Waska Banner Associates. Colin, come on up, please. Introduce yourself and
Morning.
we'll have your report. Good morning.
Morning.
Collins Wasco, Banner Associates. Been in front of you guys before. It's been a little while. The purpose of today's, the local government office has requested that the consultants sit down, not just with the county highway superintendent, but with the commissions, with the town councils that we work for, and just kind of provide an update on overall status of the bridges post-inspection. So, just going to kind of start with some of the stats. Brookings County has 165 structures over 20 feet on both the county and township systems that they are responsible for. So that's the third most in the state. Minnehaha County has the most at 198. So it gives you an idea of the scale we're dealing with. Kind of the big thing I was looking for this year during inspection was we had a lot of water the last couple of years, and so I kept an eye out for flood damage. In general, I didn't see a whole lot. Most of the flood damage and scour concerns, really showed themselves last spring when the water began dropping and we had some washouts at abutments. But, the county forces got out there, got those taken care of, and then this fall, as waters continue to drop, they've gotten out and actually put some armament in front of that, placed some riprap in front of these abutments. So those concerns they're not really concerns, they've been addressed, I think. Besides that, continued theme that we see every time out here on the inspections is my biggest concerns are looking at steel beam structures on the paved roads. They're just prone to corrosion due to salts and chlorides being placed on the roads. The other thing that has really been advancing or deteriorating faster that I've noticed is structures that have timber pile bents, so multi-span structures where the interior supports are made up of timber piles. These are subject to wet and dry conditions, which leads to deterioration and hurry. Some of them are pretty old, but right now we've got about 7 timber bent structures in the county. 2 of them are on paved roads. A total of 4 of those are on the county roads. The remaining 3 would be on township roads. Right now, 4 of those are in the preliminary engineering phase from grants that we applied for and received last year. And we've had TSNLs on several of them. And this coming grant cycle, we're applying for 2 replacement grants, or replacement grants on 2 of those structures. So really trying to get after those structures. Those are the ones that I see being a real thorn in your side, because they will need to be posted in a hurry. They deteriorate pretty fast once they go. Likewise, with the steel structures, there are 10 steel structures on paved roads in the county. That number's about to go down to 8, with the one up north of Bruce on 7 going to be replaced, and the one on southwest town on 12 will be replaced in the very near future as well. Of the remaining steel structures on the paved system, there's 3 of them on 77, 2 north of town, 1 south of town, and then there's 2 on 25 north of Bushnell, and we are anticipating, or we're planning to apply for a replacement grant for one of those this cycle, and the other one also has a preliminary engineering study ongoing right now. The other concern, and there's a lot of these out there, but still in that timber pile, where we have a timber pile vertical abutment where it's just, I mean, the bridge is supported by the timber piles on the ends, and they're taller. There's 37 of those total in the county, 16 in the county, 21 in the township. Right now, 4 of them are in the PE phase on the county system and 1 on the township roads. So we're going after some of those too. Those I'd be less concerned about just because there is an option. There are ways you can rehabilitate or shore them up a little bit in the interim so you can keep the road open and serviceable. Overall breakdown of the structures in the county, there are 77 structures that are on county roads, and the remaining 88 over 20 feet are on the township roads. And if you look back in the last few years, a lot of the replacements and focus has been on the county roads. We're trying to do a better job as looking at the township roads as well, because they need assistance. But at the same time, you got to consider how much they're being used. So it's a little more thought goes into which ones do we target first when we start looking at ways to rehab them or replace them. Of the structures in the county, 45 structures are posted for less than legal loads, and 14 of those are in the county system. Again, going after those structures that are posted is another focus, and a lot of these structures, they kind of overlap. Steel structures, there's some of them that are posted on the county system, or timber structures as well. So it's not, these aren't all just different sets of numbers. A lot of these are interweaved. And another thing we're looking at too, as we look to do replacements and which ones to focus on, is the serviceability, the clear width of the structure. There are 57 structures that are less than 24 feet wide. That's not conducive to current farm equipment. There are 75 that are less than 26, and there are 85 that are less than 28 feet wide. And that's kind of the standard for any township road now. Is we're designing a bridge that's going to be 28 feet clear width to allow for 2 lanes to pass at once over the structure with a little bit of room. That's really all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If we're getting into specific ones, though, I may have to go back and get some more notes. But
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I got a quick, on the timber structures, how many you feel could be replaced with culverts, if, like in some of these township roads?
I would say a lot of them, especially a year ago, the DOT adopted a new federal highway standard for addressing scour on bridges, and that has led to bridges have become less economical for certain spans, and so now we're considering 6-barrel box culverts to be competitive with putting a bridge in. So we're just looking at larger and larger. I'm assuming you meant like box culverts and not just pipes, but
I mean, some of them I'm sure aren't on major creeks or streams that are on just basically an overflow or, I just wonder if it's possible how many of those would be able to be replaced with culverts.
I don't have a number, but I mean, you got to look at it case by case, and if you're sizing something that's smaller than what's there, there's always concerns of affecting upstream landowners with water elevations. Now, on the smaller tributaries, that the length that they would be affected, I'd say 100-year flood event is, you're talking a few minutes before that water's back down. So it's pretty negligible, but on larger tributaries, it becomes more of a concern, I think.
Any other questions? Commissioner Pierce?
This year, your survey was of the large structures or the small structures?
Structures over 20 feet.
So it was the large structures this year?
Yes.
Okay. And there's 165. Do you happen to know how many small structures we have? Or, I know that that's probably not in this report. I was just trying to add up to see what we had for a total.
On the county roads that we know of, and it depends on where do you define a structure at that level, because
Okay.
there are some old single-barrel box culverts on 77 that, we don't have on the map, but I believe it's between 20 and 30 right now that are on the county roads that are box culverts that in the past we've gone out on a main year, on the off year, we would go out and look at those. So that'd be next year.
And to follow up with Commissioner Jensen's question, one of the things that we're finding right now as we look at some drainage issues in Brookings County is that some commissions in the past made a determination to replace a bridge with culverts, and that caused some drainage issues that we're seeing decades later, that it's been maybe 30, 40 years. Is there something out there that you all are looking at that if you're making a recommendation to replace a bridge with box culverts, proper flow so we don't have additional drainage problems?
Well, so when we do our replacements, that's what we do. We'll go out and survey, and then we do a hydraulic analysis. And what we're trying to do is compare what's there in our computer model, and then we'll propose different options until we find something that matches that. Now, there's a lot of assumptions that go into these models, so it's really just trying to compare this to that. It's not always going to be 100%, but we do the best we can with the information we have.
I was just curious if in the literature, if that's a problem that other places are seeing where they did that, now they're thinking perhaps we didn't do that quite right and we're changing the recommendations on how to do that.
I think what you're referring to in the past was they went out and they looked at a structure and just kind of said, how many culverts should we put in there that you're going to be comfortable with? And that's what they did. And, it saved a lot of headaches then. It's creating some headaches now. Probably fewer headaches than we'd be dealing with if they hadn't done it, though, I think. Because there's a lot of those sites that it's not an issue, but there are a few that certainly has been an issue, yes. But, anytime we look at a replacement now, if we're involved, we're going to do a hydraulic analysis and we're going to match what's there. Now, if it's a site where, say, there's several culverts right now that's concerned that it was undersized way back when they were installed, we can certainly look at improving that. But now, again, you have 30, 40 years of history of the downstream person saying, well, now you're putting more water on me, and you're going to be fighting landowners one way or another. Nobody's ever had. You can't please everybody all the time. So,
Has the flow line for the Topeka Shiner issue, has that changed, or they still have the same criteria that you have to have your structure lowered into the stream bed, or?
same criteria, 1 foot, and it's not necessarily just Topeka Shiner. That's where it's more apparent, but it's biologic. Forget the name, but it's for all biologic creatures. But Topeka Shiner is the endangered one that really raises that flag. On some of these overflow structures we see, they're not actually on a stream, so we can put those right at the flow line, and we don't have to submerge them a foot. So,
But that's Leanne's concern there. I know there's some structures that were put in 20, 30 years ago. Well, there's 2 to 3 foot of silt within those structures, which that was the design back then to accommodate the Topeka Shiner, and that's what you're seeing now. But I mean, that's what the recommendation was at that time.
yeah, that's the thought process, to provide a natural bottom for them for aquatic life to be able to get from one side to the other.
You had mentioned not knowing how many other bridges are out there, or culverts are out there, or structures are out there in township areas. Brian, I guess the question's to you. Didn't we ask the townships to provide us an inventory? And how's the participation been? Have we got a pretty good inventory from the townships after we requested
The
that?
few townships that have been applying for, I'll just use Volga as an example, they've gotten us an inventory, but not everybody has been participating. But I know when we did our sign program, we have some, And I think that's what Colin's referring to, is we might not have all.
What's the significance of not having all as far as your work is concerned? Everything kind of flows to the county stuff some time or another.
You know, like, going back to what are you going to consider this, you know, for these smaller structures, what are you going to cut that off? Because now we're talking like a single barrel, 4 foot by 4 foot. Well, it's pretty easy to match that with a piece of pipe. But some, you know, you just don't know where they're all at. You know, they were probably found during that signing inventory, but they weren't necessarily flagged as this is a square concrete box culvert and not just a concrete pipe. You know, so we don't necessarily have all that information. And the concern, that I'm not real, I won't be real concerned about that. You know, I know last year you guys worked on that one north of town that was, it was a box culvert you found out once you tore it out. You replaced it with a metal pipe. But that's just an example. I think there's more of those on 77 than we're aware of, just because 77 is an older route that was established back then. But they're probably just more of a pain to remove than a regular pipe. So
I was just curious about the inventory of those townships, if they ever got that inventory to us or not, and if we should make a second attempt to try and get that inventory updated. If there's not a real large value to that, then I'm not going to worry about it. But if there is, then I think we make a second attempt.
The problem even we run into on our county road routes is we have some structures that have been modified to the point to where they have a pipe on one side and a piece of box on the other side with another pipe. You know, so what's in between is, you know, we're looking at it as we think it's a pipe, and then we tear it open much like we did last year, and it's a box culvert. So,
The great unknown.
yes.
And the inventory is important. We should know what's in our roads, and as the Drainage Committee is studying this issue comes up over and over again, because culverts are making a difference in what's going on in drainage in Brookings County. And that's one of the recommendations that I think that'll come back from the Drainage Committee, is that maybe we need to be doing something more with keeping those culverts maintained properly. But I'm just second guessing what the committee's going to say at this point. But if we don't have an inventory, we don't know what we've got.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much. We appreciate the report. Next I think we're going to go to Bob. Mr. Hill.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's in a fancy report, so I won't go through everything. One item I did is probably confusing. The NACO Legislative Conference for 2021 has not been canceled. What it's been is the physical conference in Washington, D.C. has been canceled. They're going to have everything digital-wise. And of course, NACO headquarters is in Washington, D.C., so they plan on, I believe, up to 3 different types of events, and they'll be putting those out, and you'll be able to pick and choose which type of event that you want to attend from your home. I got Richard going on the radio here in just a few minutes at 9:30. And other than that, we have to talk, well, I guess the first thing, we do have a winter storm coming in. We expect it to start snowing before daylight tomorrow morning. They expect the impact going home tomorrow evening may be possible, so you have to keep an eye. I'd recommend that all county employees keep an eye on the sky, and this doesn't count the highway department, of course. But if you're in a situation where you can get home early, you might want to get home early. And we don't have a humongous rush hour, but they do expect that's when the heaviest snowfall is going to come in. So for non-highway employees, it might be best to try to, if you got vacation time, try to get home a little bit earlier tomorrow afternoon. And they are calling for possible blizzard conditions even though you might say, well, only 1 to 3 inches, that's nothing, that is true, but when the winds are gusting at 50 miles per hour, they can call a blizzard situation. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'll be monitoring it, of course, in my office, and the highway department will be out in the middle of it. So we'll do our best to keep the public as safe as we can. In my staff report, I had another thing on Elkton's radios. Of course, in 2019, we put 2 repeaters. We put 1 in Bruce, we put 1 in White. Earlier in 2013, we put a repeater down in Sinai. And in 2017, I believe it was, we had to lower the antenna on the Blue Water Tower, 20th Street South, because of FAA regulations. And we did have a north tower at one time called the Onus Tower because of the property it was sitting on. And that was lowered from 200 feet to 80 feet on it, which caused just massive communications problems in the county. We did have a Motorola study done late 2018, early 2019, and what that showed is that Elkton does have some sporadic coverage with the computer-generated Motorola study, and now we're starting to find out. I included it in the staff report on November 24th. I got an email where they didn't get a message. Or they got the message and it was all garbled up and they ended up calling on the telephone to get the information. So I guess I'm open to discussions on it, but my recommendation is that obviously we got some discussion with the city of Elkton to make sure we can put a repeater where we would like to put one and that it would even work, but I'm leaning towards recommending, or I do recommend in writing, that we try to put a repeater in Elkton if at all possible. And of course, this is not an item that I budgeted for 2021, which is needed in 2021. Obviously, we understand it's too late in 2020.
Any questions on that? I mean, I know we've got an issue over there. The Elkton emergency management people have contacted the state and complained about our non-coverage for them, and that triggered this discussion at this point and the further investigation of whether we put a tower somewhere. So went straight to Pier, which is their option to do that. So we need to correct the situation. Obviously, it's a safety issue. If you can't get the call through and it takes 5-10 minutes, or you're trying to do it by landline instead, it's an issue. So the estimate, Bob, was somewhere around 20,000, unless we have to put an actual tower up ourselves.
Correct.
This is using somebody else's water tower or somebody else's facility.
Correct.
All right, so minimum is around $20,000. Maximum, if we have to put a tower up, I add another, what, 50, 60,000 to it?
Oh, yeah, probably 100,000 by the time you're done.
100,000 for an actual tower of our own. So I assume, Bob, you've made those contacts with the Elkton to decide what they'd like to do.
We do believe we could use the water tower. It would take me visiting with the city council and some more fine details. I guess what I'm looking for today is guidance on how would you like me to.
It would certainly be a quicker option to use their water tower and just buy the equipment and get it installed. What time frame would we be looking at if we made an approval today? Obviously, we'd have to fund it in January.
You're probably still looking at March by the time they can get the equipment in and get it.
March. Okay. Yeah, I certainly support it. We have to do something there. We can't let it slide.
One of the things you said in your report, I think, Bob, is you were going to check with the Sioux Falls organization where we buy this stuff to see if putting a repeater there would take care of the problem. Are we pretty confident that it would?
We're confident that it would take care of the problem. What I referred to in my staff report, maybe it wasn't quite clear, is I don't want to go through the contract to having it put there if the signal from Brookings can't reach the signal in Elton. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Okay, so you think,
If they make sure that they can hit that, if we put a repeater in Elkton, I want to make sure our Blue Water Tower signal will reach it.
You make sure that the fire chief and the ambulance director is also on board with this, and also dispatch.
Yes, and the quote on the 20+ thousand is to actually get a new receiver in the 911 center, because we got a 4-channel right now, and with 4 repeaters, we're full. So that's gonna put a new radio in dispatch where we can add additional channels to in the future.
I did have conversation with the dispatch director, and there's some new options coming out with IM responding also that she was talking to him also about, so make sure everybody's on board with it, Bob.
When is the next 911 meeting?
I guess
also
I do not
talked
know
to-
that, ma'am.
Would like to see one in January if we can. I know the city calls those dates, but
Okay.
I'd like to see one as soon as possible after the first year.
Is this something I think that should be addressed at that, especially if we're looking, is most of the $20,000 to go for the new system over at dispatch then?
No, 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 no.
Okay, I misunderstood.
$1,600 for the dispatch part.
$1,600,
For the
$1,600.
dispatch part. The rest of it's gonna be for the physical stuff we have to have installed in Elkton.
Okay, and I guess the question is when we look at replacing that and fixing that problem, is there anything else we need to take care of at the same time? And that would be a 911 discussion to have on that. When will you know if the, putting a repeater in Elkton, if our Brookings water tower will be able to reach the repeater in Elkton?
We should be able to know that within a week or two.
All right, my other question, Bob, you'd mentioned that the tower, south tower, the repeater was moved from 200 feet to 80 feet?
No, the antenna on top of the blue water tower
Right.
was such as, I want to say 16 feet at one time, and they had to move it down to 10 feet.
Okay.
And that took out some coverage, especially down in the Sinai area. I mean, it was like night and day.
What's the option of putting that tower on the new water tower, which is higher and out of the FAA's flight path?
I guess we haven't ever, I guess that's our emergency management repeater on the blue tower, and that basically covers the south part. I don't know if we
But
would
if it
need
were
to.
moved to the new water tower the city just built, we would still have that type of range to the south, and maybe easier because it's higher to get to Elkton with the
Oh,
repeater?
I see what you're saying. If they have problems shooting to Elkton,
Yeah.
yeah, I can
Just seemed
ask-
to me, I know what you're saying is they had to drop the height because of FAA regulations. If we move it to the other tower in town that they just built, it's not in the flight path, and maybe we can get as high as we need to get coverage with simply moving that tower.
Yes, but we took care of, right now, we got coverage from when they lowered the tower, we do have coverage now. That's taken care of, that issue.
But whether it reaches Elkton or not is my question. If it
Well,
doesn't, then
yeah.
we should look at it, because I would assume that this one would still reach south if you use the new water tower, simply because of the height increase.
I understand, I'll put that into the equation when I talk to
Yeah,
Saul,
I mean, it
radio.
would be an option, I would think. Anything else? Any questions for Bob? Anything else on your report, Bob?
Then the only other thing is the Office of Emergency Management forwarded on Department of Health's COVID-19 vaccine priority groups for phase 1. And after they get done with the medical people, then the law enforcement and correctional officers are next up. There's going to come a time when it's going to trickle down to essential personnel. And then I don't know, Department of Health hasn't given us any guidelines, at least at the emergency management level, on who's considered essential personnel for local governments. And if I get it, I'll be more than happy to forward it to everybody so that decision can be made at that time.
And there's no information on activating the pod at this point?
Not at this time, but I have actually talked to some people in Department of Health, and they fully expect the pod to be activated once there's enough vaccine on the ground for us to use it. One caveat on the pod, it's gonna be a lifesaver, because we're gonna be able to get the vaccine out, but people's gonna have to sign up for the pod, to come in through the pod. Because we cannot have, 3,000 doses sitting there, and we get 2,000 people show up, or 4,000 people show up. We will only be able to get the amount of dosage that we know will put through the line. So there's gonna be a lot of public relations and public affairs stuff going out when we get close to activating the pod, to make sure people understand you don't just show up the day of the pod, because you, depending on the vaccination or the vaccine, you're gonna have to come back in 21 days or 28 days or whatever days whatever vaccine we get. So it's not gonna be a spur of the moment thing, like if you want a flu shot today, you can go over to the clinic and get a flu shot. This vaccine's gonna be, it's rolling out slowly. Once it picks up speed, we'll be more than happy to help anyone in the county, in the area, region that our pod covers, but you're gonna have to step up and tell us you're coming. And we don't need your name just yet, but we will in the future. We'll have to have a sign-in list of some sort so we know how many doses to bring into it.
So Bob, where will the pod be when it activates?
Where our main area is the Swiftel Center. And then right now, our secondary has always been the Brookings High School. And of course, we're not in negotiations with anybody yet because we need to get closer to the time to know where it's going. And then we have practiced in the past for mini pods, such as South Dakota State University, and we are set up to have traveling teams if needed. But it looks like what we had planned on traveling teams are already going to be taken care of, because our traveling teams were designed to go to nursing homes. And it looks like that population is going to be taken care of before the pod is activated.
So your vision for Brookings County is when the pod's activated, that's going to happen at Swiftel. Do we have any idea how much notice in advance we would have?
I'm hoping we do have plenty of advance notice, number one, to notify the Swiftel Center. I mean, they're on our plans. In case the Swiftel Center can't be used for any reason, then we go to the alternate. And then, in the state, right now, I don't even think they've got all people in Phase 1A done in the state of South Dakota yet. This is going to be a slow rollout. I hate to give dates. You know, I've been told April and May. Other people would tell you March. So I don't know. It's extremely difficult to even try to guess.
Bob,
I'm
how,
just-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, when you're doing, is it Thursdays you're on the radio?
Tuesdays, ma'am.
Tuesdays, when you're on the radio, is this something that you're saying so that people know that eventually we think the pod will be activated, that people will have to sign up in advance, and that they can be watching, however we're going to give those notifications, so people can be thinking about that process now?
This has not been, this is just within the last radio talk
Yeah.
show, but that is something that will go on from as the emergency management topic. When I go on the radio myself, it's for emergency management topics. I've been hitting hot and heavy, winter traffic, winter travel and stuff like that. And as we go into the vaccine dissemination, then of course that'll become part of the topic.
If we have
And
more-
we'll have to do additional publication besides just that one little
Right.
radio spot. out there.
Exactly.
If we have additional questions, you're still here. We've got a 9:30 scheduled. We'll do that, and then we can go back to you for additional questions on the
Yep,
pod
yes.
if necessary. Thanks, Bob. Our 9:30 schedule is a presentation by Northwestern Energy on a proposed pipeline easement on BCOAC property. Please introduce yourself, and you got the floor.
My name is Robert, real estate representative for Northwestern Energy in South Dakota, Nebraska. I am here to explore the possibility of acquiring an easement across county property, the Brookings County Outdoor Adventure Center. I believe you were all provided plans there of our proposal. So I guess I'd like to just discuss the overall scope of the project and why it's necessary. We have some pressure issues on the south side of Brookings. What we would prefer to do is to increase our reliability and increase our capacity on the south side. The red line, so this project is scheduled to take place over 2 years, 2021 and 2022. The 2021 project would be the red line along 32nd Street South, a mile and a half from Main Avenue South over to 22nd Avenue. then a mile north, so about 2.5-mile project. Since this is a growing area within the city of Brookings, much of this route is still statutory right-of-way, which is a 33-foot wide right-of-way for the streets. After meeting with the development review team with the city, much of this is going to be 40 feet wide in the future. So they'll be acquiring an additional 7 feet for street right-of-way on either side of the section line or the center of the road. So part of my function is to acquire the property rights for a pipeline. The 2021 project, the red line, is going to be 6-inch steel at a pressure of about 150 psi. To be financially feasible, we don't want to be moving this pipeline twice. We don't want to build it twice. So what I'm trying to do is acquire easements for this pipeline route along the route in order to avoid moving it in the future, and probably not too distant future when they rebuild the streets and expand that street right away. So back to the county property, I'm here to explore a possibility of acquiring an easement from the county. I guess the first step, as recommended by Bob, was to come here and talk about this project. And I guess I am requesting approval by the commission to move forward with the discovery part of this project on your property to see if it's even feasible to put a pipeline along the east side of that property. It's fully developed with site improvements. Talked with the construction superintendent. Best way to cross the county property would be to bore the line. So the pipeline would be bored. We're typically 3 to 5 feet to the top pipe. It just depends on what exists, currently exists in the form of utilities along that stretch. That's part of what I'm here to do, is to see whether you would entertain the idea of granting that easement in order for us to move forward with the discovery. And part of that discovery would be to call in locates and see what actually exists there. I don't know if the county would have any as-built utility plans along that property. The question I would have for you, and perhaps that's something we could explore, is if we move forward with putting the easement on this property. I guess that's what I have to say.
Okay, any questions? Is there a particular reason you wanted it on the west side of 22nd versus on the east side of 22nd?
Yes. After discussions with the city, the east side is very full, both in easement and in right-of-way with existing utilities. So it gets to be very congested and difficult to run our pipeline in that area.
Do you already have things worked out with the city? The city is on both sides of us there.
They are, and actually the city just last week provided me a set of utility plans along this route. And so I after reviewing these plans, I think it's still most feasible to be along the west side of 22nd Avenue. But part of the discovery is to determine what's there and what we can do. Until we call in locates, we really don't know.
Any other questions?
I think that's where the walking path is right there. Something right in that corner, just east of our building. There was something there.
It's a lift station, I
Lift
believe.
station, I think. Lift station that was there because we had an issue of that failing, and we had to come in and get an electrician down there to do something, and that was just east of our building. And so you're planning to go from our building to the road in between that area, correct?
Ideally would be 40 feet off of the center line section line, 40 to 50 feet. You have a bike trail there. There's a big transformer on site. You have the HVAC system. There's much there.
Yeah.
And so I have my concerns, whether we can get through there or not. But we don't know until we, part of that discovery process will identify any existing subsurface, surface improvements.
Mr. Chair, I'm curious as to whether Dustin has any information as relates to this.
Dustin, have you been contacted about it at all? He has not, okay. I don't have a problem with you going ahead and with the exploration of the feasibility, because I certainly can't tell you it's feasible or it's not. But, so I think it's, from my perspective, we're not giving permission necessarily for the easement at this point, but until we know more about what's underneath that structure in front of our building. We've got most of the structure, I guess, on that whole line. I know when we ran some utilities down to this, I think it was all the way to the north before they hooked in to sewer and water or something. So anyway, long story short, this is kind of the blockage that you got to get through. It looks like to me, to go north or south of our property. Everything else looks pretty open. So I don't have a problem with authorizing you to study it further, I guess. Any other questions?
Well, I think that's fine too, the exploration part of it. Some hurdles, because I think there's a lot of utilities coming right from that area and across that area there. But it doesn't hurt to try to see what it is and if there's a way to rectify it.
Can't hear you as well.
I think we're going to run into probably some problems there, but it doesn't hurt to find out and see what it is and see if there's a way to rectify it. I mean, you guys this isn't your first rodeo, so I'm sure if you run into this trying with these, there's maybe ways to get the job done, I guess. But first we got to find out if there's a problem and what it is and see if we can rectify it. But I'm open to the exploration of it too, fact finding.
I recently, it's a couple-year project down in Grand Island too, but I'm working on a gas expansion project down in Grand Island, Nebraska, and it's a very similar situation, heavily congested with utilities, desperately needed, again, with the capacity and reliability issues as far as providing gas to the customers and growth opportunities as well for your community. But what I normally do is just might reach out to an engineering firm, even with to develop a plan profile when you get into these really congested areas.
At this point, what's your time frame?
Well, I have a site under contract for the gas regulator station. So that's over near the intersection of 32nd Street and Main Avenue. I'll probably close on that in April. I would imagine we'll begin construction right around that time. So this is the 32nd Avenue and 32nd Street, and 22nd Avenue. That's a 2021 project. The 2022 project would be along Main Avenue.
Any other questions? Any objections? Seeing no objections, you go ahead and explore the possibilities.
I'll be back in touch.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
Would we like
Yes.
for him to maybe have some conversation with Dustin so Dustin knows what's going on and
Yeah.
if there are
yeah.
questions?
Make sure you talk with our director out there. He's sitting behind you over there, but
We'll
you'll
be in
find him.
touch. So,
Yeah.
definitely. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. So Dustin, it's your turn to come up and ask questions if you'd like before.
Did Bob, anything else? Or did you want to do
Bob,
Dustin
do you have
first?
anything else?
Bob, did you get direction? I know I had it as discussion and possible action from the commission on the repeater in Elkton, if he had enough direction to move forward with that project. Did you get,
He was interrupted, so go ahead, ask him again.
did you get enough direction from the board on how to proceed with the repeater in Elkton?
Yes, from what I understand, I'll contact Sioux Falls two-way, ensure that we can do a communications link between here and there, check with the 911, or make sure we get a 911 meeting in January, and don't do anything until after the 911 meeting, but start getting the ball rolling, is my
My only other question on the pod is, it looks to me like the pod has never used an exercise that allowed or required people to sign up or register for the vaccination. So I think that's a process the pod ought to discuss, who's responsible, where it's going to be. Is it going to be the state? Is it going to be the local pod? I think has to be involved with that. So you might want to start looking at that registration process, because that seems to be the biggest problem with the whole process.
Okay, I'll
We can't get them
contact,
to register.
we'll put that on the January agenda for the PPCC meeting.
Thank you.
Bob, the question I had for the pod was, how many additional county personnel would be needed to, I know there was talk before of traffic control and such.
Well, once we implement the pod, it'll be a joint law enforcement issue. The sheriff will have to talk to the city police chief. We'll definitely have to have security there, especially if we only get limited amounts of vaccine. We found that out in other clinics that we've had, such as the H5N1 clinic. We almost have to have a law enforcement presence on the scene when doing this, in case we run out of something. So you're looking at that, and then as the other stuff, it's going to be basic barricades for roads and stuff like that. So an actual true number, I've got several county employees already on the pod list, and some of them is department heads, and some of them, I believe they're all department heads that are extra on the PPCC besides my staff. So I'd venture to say, as far as bodies, we'll probably need 5 to 10 bodies to help put barricades up and stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah, I guess I'm still more concerned about where we get the personnel to do the registration process. If you've got 3,000 or 4,000 people you're going to have
I'll
vaccinated,
start,
that's going to be quite the process for registration.
And that could be started substantially earlier than us knowing when we're going to have the vaccine, so that people could be signed up, and then we could have some type of notification process for when they would report. It just seems to me like we might need to start that sooner rather than later.
It's still a fluid process of who they're going to allow to have the shots
Exactly.
and a priority. So we can't really go out and ask people to register until we know what the priority system is.
Yeah, and then even once they register, we may need additional people, because what we'll do is we'll have them on a list with contact information. And then just like I've got a medical procedure on December 31st, where they're going to call me the week before my medical procedure to make sure I still want to do it, number one, or can do it. And so we have to call these people that have pre-registered to verify that they're still available to come through the line. So you're absolutely correct. It is going to be a long, time-consuming thing, but we want to do it right. So.
My only concern is we start working on that process of how we're going to set it up.
Yep, I'll contact Department of Health and see if they've got guidelines released yet, or if they even thinking about it yet.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Bob?
That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, Dustin, you have the floor.
Just a little input on that pipeline. The no truck parking, there is quite a few utilities in that ditch, so that's just my 2 cents, I guess.
Well, you know that.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
I got to locate, and yeah, there was quite a few utilities. But so my report, I'll start with attendance. Since our last meeting, archery range we had 81, gun range we had 115. Those numbers are down. That's since December 1st. As of right now, we have all of our leagues scheduled, our classes, 4-H events for January to April. Joad just booked 2 sessions. Big Sue Bowman's doing their league. Last night, Aeromates came in. They're going to come in Monday nights after Joad's done for 4 months. And Brookings Pistol and Rifle Club, they're going to do a little shoot on Tuesday evenings. Joad is going to try to do 2 8-week sessions, so we're going to be very busy through January through April. Maintenance in the facility, we got our berm cleaned in the gun range, all brand new wire on the retrieval system. We deep cleaned everything. Those cables, I mean, they build up all that residue and stuff, so we cleaned those, wiped everything down. We put some new mesh in between all of our lanes just to kind of contain that brass a little bit, so you're not throwing all the brass over to your neighbor's lane. Board meetings, we're coming up with a new mission statement. I'm kind of liking the way the board meetings are going, where everybody's kind of interactive now and we're getting involved. It's been really good. I've been talking with Graham Larson on our grant opportunities. Those are due March 1st. I'm trying to figure something out with him, see what we can qualify for the grants. That's kind of all I had. I just wanted to thank everybody. I know I've had a lot of questions being new with the facility, the RSOs, the volunteers, all the commissioners, Ryan and Larry, they've been great. Stacy, Michelle, Lori, Vicky, everybody in the finance office. I know when they see me coming, I'm always asking for something. Bob, Marty, Sean, IT. I've had to borrow some stuff from Brian. It's been pretty enjoyable to work with everybody. I just want to say thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions? It's,
Thank you.
thank you. Misty?
Good morning. I don't have let you know, January 7th at 3 o'clock, we have a weed and pest board meeting that we finally got scheduled. Yay. So that'll be here at the City County Building on second floor in room 221. Also want to let you know there is no longer a annual weed and pest meeting out in Spearfish this year. They canceled it already. We still will get our grant from the Weed and Pest Commission. I know there's some things that we've got to work out and do for them to continue to get the grant, but we'll still get our grant. I think everything's going okay. Otherwise, that's all I've got for you guys, unless you've got questions for me.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Misty. That's it for reports, so we'll move on to our item 8, regular business. Item A is an action to approve resolution number 20-66, a plat of Lot 1 of Brown's Addition in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 28, Township 111 North, Range 52 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Presentation, Bob?
Yes, on December 1st, 2020, we had our zoning meeting and we heard 5 plats. All 5 plats were approved unanimously, and I'm here if you have any questions on an individual one.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners on these? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B is an action to approve resolution number 20-67, a plat of Lot 1 of Hendricks Addition and Government Lot 4, Section 3, Township 112 North, Range 52 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Comments, Bob?
Once again, it's that time of the year, all the taxes are paid up, so if they're going to plat the property off for next year, now's the time to do it. And once again, we heard this December 1st, approved unanimously.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C is an action to approve resolution number 20-68, a plat of Lot 1 of Thompson's Addition in the east 1/2 northwest of the 1/4 and west 1/2 northeast quarter section of Section 25, Township 111 North and Range 52 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other presentation, Bob?
Once again, this one, obviously, you can see there must be water on the ground somewhere up there with the odd shape of the area, but it meets our criteria, and we approved it unanimously.
All right, any other questions or comments on this one, on this plat? Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D is an action to approve resolution number 20-69, a plat of Lot 1 of Cook Addition in the northwest quarter of Section 24, Township 111 North, Range 51 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Comments, Bob?
Once again, this looks like it's a homestead exemption type plat and approved on December 1st, met all of our criteria.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Boersma?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item E is an action to approve resolution number 20-70, a plat of lots 1 and 2 of Lorenzen Addition in the southwest of quarter of Section 1, Township 109 North, Range 48 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Bob?
Heard it December 1st, property being subdivided, meets our criteria, approved unanimously, sent to this board with the recommendation that you approve it.
Any other questions or comments? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Action F is an action to approve resolution number 20-71, a bridge improvement grant program resolution authorizing submission of applications for structure number 06-280, 172. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Any report on this, Brian?
Yeah, I previously mentioned that these were PEs, these are replacement grants. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this one?
So,
Any comments?
so these are replacement grants?
Yes.
And-
We don't have the official cost estimates put together, but Colin and I had talked about that in depth, that we won't be exceeding our 4.3 with these grants, but we've been looking at the numbers, and they're in the 5-year plan to apply for. So we've got some, now that we've got the TS&Ls done, which were just last week, we got some direction. And I'll provide the numbers, but with these that we're applying for, we would stay under our cap of the 4.3 million.
So these have had preliminary engineering already?
Yes.
And then I see you have 40% match in here. Where'd you come up with that number?
The reason we came up with that number is if we go any lower, that we wouldn't be staying under our 4.3 cap.
That was a question I had also. But
So you'll see that,
the other two are 50%.
yep. And these are shorter structures. And I believe this one, if I remember right, this first one is north of Bushnell, if I remember right. And then there's one south of Aurora. And then the third one is over by Elkton, north of be on our county road.
Any other questions on
Yeah,
this
they're
particular
in.
one?
These are all structures over 20 feet
Correct.
that are on our list. They're on our 5-year
Yep.
list. They've had everything ready to go, and
Yep.
and so these submissions are going to happen when next? Don't they have to do by when?
January 2nd, I believe they have to be submitted.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll on item F.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Krogman?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item G is an action to approve resolution number 20-72, a bridge improvement grant program resolution authorizing submission of applications for structure number 06240123. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Comments?
This is the structure north of Bushnell that I had mentioned earlier. I know last year this bridge got heavily damaged by a car accident, and that's why it moved up on our list.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Pierce?
I just want to make sure that I understood your answer to Commissioner Krogman. All of these that are on here are on our 5-year plan for what
Correct.
we're doing today.
Correct. We could not apply for these structures if they were not on our 5-year plan.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item H is an action to approve resolution number 20-73, a bridge improvement grant program resolution authorizing submission of applications for structure number 06227230. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I would like to mention this particular structure is on a township road.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item I is an action to approve resolution number 20-74, a resolution setting the official pay plan for 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments?
This is the pay plan for next year that sets out all of the wage grades, and at the end of this resolution, it has the beginning, midpoint, max of the steps too within each of those pay grades that we approve annually.
Any other questions or comments on the resolution? Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item J is an action to approve resolution number 20-75, a resolution approving contingency transfers. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I have a report.
I'll be actually asking for an amendment on this. Everything stayed the same until we get down to the emergency management line. I was working with Jen Beller in the finance office yesterday looking at that overall fund. And what we had anticipated the reimbursement from Bob's salary that usually comes through the federal, I think it's the state and local agreement. We opted to take his salary through CARES money this year instead. That money essentially went into general fund when it came to us. And so you're going to see some of this kind of dollar amount floating around that 44,000, just over 44,100-ish that we got back in CARES money for Bob's salary, where we had anticipated that going into the emergency management fund. It didn't. So I had to make a change on the resolution. I did put a new one out in front of you this morning and highlighted that last number. So instead of the 6,000 or the 62,000, it's 104,200. That reflects that addition of that salary increase. It was something that we had anticipated when we were figuring out getting that fund back to where it needed to be, and then we realized it didn't go into that fund because did CARES Act instead of the SLA fund reimbursement. So otherwise, the other lines are just things needed to get those budgets to where they need to be at year end. As I look forward at anticipated expenses and where we are at currently.
Are we budgeting for next year? Do we anticipate for catastrophic legal and county jail, medical services? Obviously, those things are very difficult to project.
Yes.
Do anything. Did we adjust any of ours in time for this year to cover some shortfalls of next year, or are we at the same budget?
I think we're probably pretty similar to where we are this year. I think some of those things are very, very hard. The judicial system, register of deeds, that's on me. It might not work for next year, but I know what's going on there as to why that was a little bit short. HR publishing, that's all of our advertising for all of our positions, and we have had many, many openings this year, so that's why that is. The county jail medical services, we've just had some unexpected things come out of that this year. Drainage, we knew that was coming with the drainage study that was approved by this board earlier in the year. We've been kind of accruing expenses in that budget. And then behavioral health, that, again, we don't know.
Medical.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and the judicial system, the very first one, I think I maybe skipped over that. That too, we don't know, and we're seeing more and more bills coming in there too. So Commissioner Pierce and I had a conversation about how we can maybe fix that here year end for next year. I'm just trying to anticipate some things coming in, and actually I'm glad I did this because we have about $16,000 yet to pay yet in 20 that will come out, that we'll be paying 20 claims in January yet. And we've already received over $16,000 in those claims. So this should cover that, plus some more that we're maybe anticipating getting in, so.
I have a question about the conversation we had with Bob about the repeater for Elkton. And we know that we believe that we're going to spend about $20,000 that we've not budgeted for next year. Should there be any of this money put anywhere for that? How will we deal with that?
No, I think we need to deal with that in 21. We could, I don't know if that we want to get in the habit of putting contingency towards something we haven't already expensed yet. So I guess I'd like to wait and see where we're at in 21, and we know that, and we'll make note of that expense when it occurs, and then if there is some supplement or contingency that's needed for next year, we'll be looking at that. But I hate kind of anticipating that at this point. Just in case something does fall through and it doesn't happen, I think we can deal with it next year and be just fine.
And if we want to do any assignments, we're doing that under item S, right? on the
Yes, that's
agenda.
coming up later on the agenda, yes.
So what does that leave us from our contingency?
So we have 730,000, so just under a little less than 500,000 left in contingency. Just less than that. So overall, I'll have to say this has been, they've done well. I mean, I think some of the budgets are looking really, really well because of, there are some things that just didn't happen. A lot of travel, right, because of COVID this year. So, but yeah, overall, we did pretty well, I think.
I would agree.
Right,
So I would like to have the amendment to that, that
Right.
highlighted amount would be an amendment to the initial motion that was made.
So we'll entertain an amendment to emergency management transfers from $62,000 to $104,200 for total contingencies of $234,200. Is there amendment?
So moved.
Okay, second. I was gonna say I can amend my motion if you want me to. But okay.
We can do it this way. An amendment's cleaner. Okay, any
Second.
questions on the amendment? No questions on the amendment? Any comments on the amendment? If not, we'll call the roll on the amendment.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Krogman.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Amendment carries.
All right, we'll go to the main motion as amended. Is there a motion, or we already had that motion, didn't we? Okay. Any other comments on it as amended? Any comments? If not, we'll call the roll.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we're going to move on to item K as an action to approve agreement number 20-72, an agreement with Henry Carlson Construction LLC AIA document G701-2001 for change order 001 for the Brookings County Detention Center project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Comments?
I had a question, Mr. Chair. Do we know on the portion of that change order, I think it's the last item in CO1 for the proposed change order was related to the placement of footings that were incorrect as a result of incorrect drawings. Have we questioned what happened with that?
There was an explanation. I cannot remember exactly what it was. I think it had something to do with the drawings were incorrect because the subsurface wasn't as they anticipated, so they had to
So it was
move
removal.
the footing to move it, I
Removal
guess.
of the footing that they had placed or removal of a footing that they didn't know was there?
Right. I think it was a footing that was there. They didn't know was there.
Okay.
And so
Okay,
they
that
had to
just-
do new drawings and remove that footing.
Sure, it wasn't clear in the way it was described in the packet, and so I wanted to make sure that we all knew that and that the public was aware that that was
Yeah.
something that couldn't have been foreseen.
Right. There's a couple of things in here that were unforeseen. One was the drainage issue and putting it through, and the other was
The sewer line.
all these things were unforeseen things like chipping
Yep.
sledge off of the block so we can get up to the wall. I mean, these things, once you opened up that facility to actually build it, it had some warts, and so we had to fix those warts. That's what this is all about. And sorting the stone for the building was an additional expense. Probably the largest expense in this was sorting the materials, but we all kind of agreed that we needed to do that, so.
And really, the only thing that's changing the guaranteed maximum price is the 26,686, the sorting of the stone. The other ticket items that are kind of listed throughout are all contingency items, so they're not actually increasing the cost at this point. But it does increase that GMP by that 26,686.
Okay.
So that's really what this change order is for, but it's noting all of those contingency items as well.
Sewer line was an issue too, but the drainage one that came down from the courthouse, that one it was underneath the building and they couldn't leave it there.
Yep.
They had to change that. Any other questions or comments? Any comments? Call the roll.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Item L is an action to approve agreement number 20-73, an agreement between Minnehaha County Lutheran Social Services, South Dakota, and Brookings County, setting per diem costs to house youth in both the secure and non-secure section of Minnehaha County Regional Juvenile Detention Center, as well as shelter care being operated by Lutheran Social Services. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. And Sheriff, or somebody have a report on this?
Just kind of noted that the increase was, reflects a 3% increase from the current 2020 rate, $244 per bed day. So that's up from the $236.90 that it is this year. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Pierce?
Angie, did they have any meetings this year at all?
Not a single one.
Not a single one. And Dan, do you by any chance, or maybe Marty, I don't know which one of you, have some statistics on how many bed days we used in 2020?
Well, based on the meeting that you and I were both at last week, I mean, we saved almost $100,000 this year compared to last year. So I would say that our bed days have greatly been reduced, and I think that's a theme going forward with our new JDIA program. Less kids being in detention, more being supervised in the community. So, but I don't have a specific day, but I have that dollar figure for you.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that Dan's just done a great job with working with a reduction in the number of days we've got juveniles in Sioux Falls. So that's really a huge budgetary advantage for us.
Any other questions or comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item M is an action to approve agreement number 20-74, an agreement between Brookings County and Falk County for prisoner housing. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Comments or report?
Is this just exactly the same contract that we had with them before, or was it reworded?
It's the same contract, I just went up $5.
Yeah.
By the time we get our jail, it'll probably be close to 100 per day that we can rent out. But I hope not to have to use that. We used about $10,000, $11,000 to house. Just before the new year last year, we had a rush on inmates, and some couldn't be together and so forth. So right now, Falk County isn't accepting anybody because they're full. So.
I guess my concern about this contract, and I don't think we have any control over this, but any medical expenses our prisoners incur while they're in Falk County, we pay for.
Yes.
And they probably have a different system, and the contract doesn't deal with that. If we get somebody, one of our people with COVID, and they end up being hospitalized, again, that's something, will they let you know that right away, or?
Yeah, they're really good about that. If it's not an emergency, they actually call us
Okay.
and get our approval before they do medical. They have a deal with Aberdeen for their medical stuff. But they always call us unless it's an emergency.
And the medical expenses is what really put the jail over budget this year, is what we're paying out for medical expenses for our inmates.
Any other questions, comments? Any other comments?
I
Hearing
mean, the
none?
good thing about it,
it's a 3-year contract.
Got one.
And so we're locked into that for 3 years, that money, so
Hopefully, we won't need it the last year.
hopefully not.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item N is an action to approve agreement number 20-75, an application of occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Brookings Township. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments or questions? Brian, any comments?
This is along County Road 9. They're removing the overhead and putting in underground.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item O is an action to transfer cash from budget line 101-4-211-4291 in the amount of $72,179.48 to Fund 759, the Brookings County Fire Trust Fund. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any comments?
This is something that we do annually. Once they have expensed all of their bills for the year, we do this transfer of the rest of their budget authority to that long-term fund, and then they track that and use that for kind of bigger expenses. And they have a formula that they use, they being Daryl Hartman with the Firefighters Association in the county, that divvies that up amongst all of the different departments throughout the county.
Any other questions or comments? Any comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item P is an action to approve an automatic supplement in the county jail department for reimbursement from COVID CARES Act funding to general line item 101-4-212-4110, receipt number 522042, in the amount of $307,110.91. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Comments?
This actually uses, just as it says, the CARES Act money. We got reimbursed for the detention center staffing. So this would reimburse that fund, or that budget rather, that dollar amount. And because of COVID, the salary line for the jail was over budget this year for a couple of different reasons. One, that there was one position that now came out and of that budget that wasn't budgeted for. We had anticipated that, but also because of COVID, they had different staffing, more staffing, and then sometimes if you had somebody out, you still had to have somebody work, so you were still paying that person who was out. Some COVID, with the federal mandate for that COVID pay, and then the security at the courthouse as well. We saw an increase with that there too, and some of that is accounted for in next year. So this is one that I hope that we've made some adjustments to that budget for next year, and that'll be a little bit better. So that's what this supplement is for.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Any questions? If not, we'll call the roll.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item Q is an action to approve an automatic supplement in the Emergency Management Department for reimbursement from COVID CARES Act funding to general line item 226-4-222-4110, receipt number 525689, in the amount of $2,000. There a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Report on this?
So I'm asking for an amendment on this one as well, this one and the next one. Like I had said, this kind of deals with that salary line that we did receive from CARES for the emergency management, Bob's position. So I handed that copy of that automatic supplement out this morning. It was in front of you. What changes in the original motion would be the receipt numbers. We would get rid of the one receipt that's noted on the agenda and add 519375 and 535052, and then the amount is for the 44,117.01. That was the amount of reimbursement for Bob's salary as emergency management director that we received for CARES Act.
Questions or comments? I would entertain a motion then to change the receipt number 522042 to 5193775 and 535052, and the amount to $44,117.01 from $2,000. That would be the amendment. Is there a
So moved.
motion for the amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Both made and seconded. Any comments on the amendment? All right, good. All those, this is a roll call, isn't it? Call the roll.
I can do a roll call. Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Amendment carries.
We'll vote then on the main motion as amended. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Pierce.
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item R is an action to approve a cash transfer from General Fund 101-4-911-4290 to Emergency Management Fund 226-3-371-40 and the amount of $2,000. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Report.
And again, I need an amendment on this one to change that 2,000 to the 44,117.01 to reflect the salary amount.
Do we have to change the receipt numbers?
Nope, the general ledger lines all stay the same, it's just the dollar amount that needs to be changed on this.
All right, and entertain an amendment to change the dollar amount from $2,000 to $44,117.01.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This amendment. Any questions on the amendment? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendment carries. The main motion as amended. Is there any comments or questions? Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Item S is end-of-year designation, discussion, and possible action to assign fund balance dollars. We'll have a discussion first. We'll lead the discussion.
So I included with the packet a staff report and about potential designations. We've talked about the $30,000 for radios. And then, my recommendation initially was the 3.5 million. So that would put 3.47 million, assign that within the general fund for the jail project. As I added up kind of construction costs, total costs of that jail project, we're probably closer to that $18 million mark, maybe just a little bit over that. With that designation, that leaves us with, about $1 million more than probably what we're anticipating we may need. However, we're early on with change orders and things like that. So, if we need it, it will be there. If we don't need it, it's in the general fund. We can just, a simple action by the board to undesignate that if not needed. Some further discussion about getting closer to that 25% on designations. If we wanted to do another $500,000 in designations, I know we had discussed some other possible projects coming up, specifically the Samara Avenue project, where the city of Volga has been in here and discussed that project a couple of different times. I could see designating an additional $500,000 out of that to go into. We already have a line that says economic development highway projects. We could put that money in there. So a little bit different from my staff report. So $30,000 for radios that we're anticipating that we're going to need in 2020. What did I say? 2023. The 3.47 for the jail and $500,000 for highway in the general fund.
Economic development.
Economic development highway projects in the general fund.
So Stacy, if I'm understanding correctly, that still leaves us at 31%.
So now that we're doing the 4 million, I'm anticipating 27%,
gotcha. Okay,
but
yep.
it'll probably be a little less than that because we still have some bills that I don't know. I did some estimates, guesstimates basically on what we still have to pay. So it'll probably be closer. It'll probably be a little bit lower than that. Due to the CARES Act money, it's part of my report at the end. You see, we're our percentage, our general fund surplus is quite high. And a lot of that is due to this reimbursement from CARES that we hadn't anticipated, you know, at the beginning of the year. This opportunity came to us throughout the year. And just to kind of touch on that, you know, we did take advantage of that. And speaking with the folks in the finance office, I mean, we're eligible for approximately 2.3 million. Brookings County was eligible for. I think we're going to probably get just over 2 million of that we sought reimbursement for, is what we're hoping when it's all said and done. So.
Any other questions or comments?
In the way of process, do we do each one of those individually, or can we do it all as one motion, or?
I think you can do it all as one
Yeah,
motion.
I
That
think
would
you
be
can make it one
fine.
motion, yeah. I think you just, do it as 30,000 for radio, 2.47 for jail, and 500K for economic development highway. If you do it, make the motion that way, you cover all those issues.
Well,
So I'd entertain that motion.
I would make a motion, okay, that we assign $30,000 for radios, $3,470,000 for the jail expansion project, and $500,000 for the general fund economic development highway fund.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other comments or questions on that? Any other comments or questions? This was a voice vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item T is an action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a truck driver in the highway and weed and pest departments. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any comments or questions? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item U is an action to approve a request to fill vacancy for 2 part-time membership assistants at the Brookings County Outdoor Adventure Center. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Is there a report? You have some comments you'd like to make?
When 4-H is coming in on Saturday mornings, I want somebody to be there, so this is why I've added some more people. I think I've expressed my concerns with you guys on that kind of stuff, and snow removal when we're busy, I'd like to maybe add another person to come in, so maybe an on-call type person, and I'm just trying to be proactive with, I mean, there's some college kids that are graduating, and I don't know if they'll get jobs and stick around here, full-time jobs, and still want to work out there part-time, but this is why I was asking for this.
Any other questions or comments?
How many membership assistants part-time membership assistants does this give you?
This will be up to 9 if we add 2 additional people. Right now, we currently have 7.
And here's the question that I had when we talked at budget time. We talked about saying to Dustin that he has this much money to spend on assistants, and I don't think we really care how many he has, just so he doesn't go over budget. And by making this number, is that going to give you the flexibility, or I just, if you decide to go fewer hours and have more people, I just would like us not to have to do it again for 2 more later.
Yep.
I'm curious whether this meets the needs that you anticipate.
It's kind of trial and error right now. January through April, we're going to be extremely busy. So like Monday, I can be at the front desk only so much, but if I'm on the roof looking at HVAC or meeting with people or trying to promote the facility, I think I've talked to you guys about that. I would like somebody to sit there, and when somebody walks into the facility, I want them to be greeted. So right now, Monday through Friday, we're open from 9 a.m. to 9 at night, and then Saturday now it's going to be 7:30 to sometimes 10, and then Sunday it's going to be sometimes 8 a.m. to 10 at night on Sundays too. So I'm playing with this a little bit. I'm trying to prove to you guys that there could be a need for a full-time like front desk receptionist person. So hopefully maybe by next budget I can figure that out, budget hearings, and maybe we can put that in there to where that would eliminate 2 or 3 positions, and then we can go down to just 4 or 5 membership attendants just to work the public open hours, and then that office manager or assistant could be there from 9 to 5, so we would eliminate probably 2 to 3 part-time positions. But I'm still trying to figure all that out. But I believe, even if somebody's sick, we ran a little bit short-staffed because then I was covering the hours at night and that kind of thing. Or, events, I'm trying to book as many events as we possibly can so we might book an event on Saturday, so I'd have to add additional staff for that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Last one here is an action to declare a bookshelf as surplus property to be donated to the Brookings Restore. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion been made and seconded. Any comments?
This is just as it states, the community health had a bookshelf that they wanted to get rid of. I was contacted, and so reached out to all the department heads in the county to see if there was any interest in anybody being able to utilize it. There was none. So I, instead of taking it to the landfill, I thought maybe donating it to the Habitat Restore would be a better option.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We move on to number 9, the Commission Department Director's Report.
There we go. Microphone on. The first part of my report is the surplus cash analysis, kind of overview of the year and then the 10-year look back. You can see we're at 59% at the end of November. So that's why we were able to make so many of those designations. So, and again, the look back was there. The next part of my report is the kind of an update with our budgets on the risk amount with our new HRA with Wellmark as we come into year end here. So this initial risk is what we budgeted 30% of the county's 100% of our risk. We budgeted 30% in each department's budget for that. Immediately at the beginning of the year, that money goes into an account that can be drawn down by WageWorks as needed. So you can kind of see where what was used by departments. At the time of this report, you know, our 30% was the 86.1, and we were at 60,000, about 60,100, just over that. So we are really, really in good shape when we planned for that. The 30% is what we planned on for next year as well. Kristen and I will sit down, you know, we just need to kind of get some historical information, and then we can kind of look at maybe adjusting certain departments and things. But we kind of want to get a couple years under our belts to make sure we know. But I wanted to share that information with you to let you know that we are below our 30% estimate. So we're in good shape there. The CARES Act, I've kind of spoken to that already. Our eligible amount. This was as of 11/27. We had almost 1.6 million, and as I had stated, you know, we hope with additional claims, even some of the things that were approved today, we're going to submit as operating expenses. That deadline is actually the 30th, so we're going to get some of those additional things submitted here before the end of the year, and then we can claim some salaries for some of those departments that are eligible for salary reimbursements. We can claim through the end of I think so. We'll still be looking at some of those submissions for reimbursement through CARES. No word on if they're extending that, so we're just going with those hard and fast deadlines at this point. But like I said, we're estimating that we'll have just over $2 million brought back to us. I think I had shared this with you already. We've been talking about this because we'd received this a little while ago. This was at the end of November. Our project manager, Chad Nelson with Henry Carlson, provides this executive summary each month. And so that was just kind of where we are at with the detention center project. Also included with my report is a letter from Bob Wilcox with the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners regarding emergency funding for conservation districts, basically saying that that's not going to be coming out of county dollars at this time, that there's some things there that they're doing with CARES. And I also included the 2021 commission calendar in there. I've added a few more dates and things, so that is in the packet as well. And I know I've spoken to some of you. I kind of just want to get maybe a quick show of hands. On Monday, the 28th, next Monday, I am really going to be digging into everyone's budgets one more time. This will give me a chance this week to have all of the contingency transfers, the automatic supplements, all of that action that you folks took today with the designations and everything done. Another payroll will hit the general ledger this week. So on the 28th, I'm really going to take a look. I know Kim that does the claims down in the finance office has been kind of keeping a running total of everything that keeps getting submitted yet that will still have to be expensed out of FY20. So hopefully we'll have a better idea on that. But just kind of, if needed, and I tried to plan ahead to not have a meeting next week, an emergency meeting next week. That was my intent with some of the numbers I gave you today. But it would probably be, I'd hate to even say Tuesday, probably Wednesday next week. Would anyone be available? I need 3 of you to be available, just sometime during the day, if need be. I'm not saying that hard and fast that there will be, but as just a precaution to myself so I can sleep at night, that if we need something done before the end of the year, you guys will be available. Okay, great, thank you. Other than the upcoming holidays, Christmas, New Year's, January 5th, our first meeting of the year, we will have pictures with department heads. Commissioners will all get individual pictures again. We'll do the group picture again. We're going to start that at 8 o'clock. And then we'll start the regular meeting at 8:30. We'll also be doing oaths for those of you who were either re-elected or newly elected. The oaths, Judge Stoltenberg will be coming over and we'll be doing those as part of that meeting as well. And there's another holiday in January, but I just want to take the time to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully I don't see you next week, but if I do, then I'll wish you a Happy New Year again next week too. That's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
All right. Dan, State's Attorney's report.
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. We're going to discussion items. We did have some correspondence from the Boys and Girls Club, but thank you from DNR to the Volga Dairy about 3 different items that you can review if you'd like. With that, we'll start with Commissioner Pierce's report.
Okay. On December 3rd, I attended the on Brookings Day at the legislature. It is going to be on Zoom, and I did not write the date down. I have the wrong calendar with me. I think it's January 21st, but some additional information will be coming out on that. Is that a Wednesday? Does somebody have a calendar? The 20th. It's whatever that Wednesday is that week.
Of January?
Yeah, I think it's the 20th then. Yep. And so it is going to be by Zoom. The chamber is renting space at what Kelsey calls the Old Red Owl for Brookings leadership to be able to be there in person, and anybody else that wanted to be there in person could go for that if you wanted. Otherwise, you could attend by Zoom. We don't have the entire agenda lined up yet, but I do anticipate, because I spoke to him myself, that Mike Bem from DOT, South Dakota DOT, will be one of the speakers again this year. If you were there last year, he did a great job. He did a really nice job. And I think he's going to talk about the Highway 14 corridor study and the implications for Brookings County, whether anything else is going to get done on 6th Street, any comments he has about the interchange project, and he might talk about grant possibilities for a bike trail between Brookings and Aurora. So if you are interested in any of that stuff, maybe if you're not interested in the whole agenda for the day, that would be something that you might be interested in coming onto Zoom for that when he has that conversation. On December 9th, I attended the Leader Roundtable, and I know some of the rest of you go to that on occasion. That's now going to be on the second Wednesday of each month, which is the same Wednesday, but at 8:30 instead of at 7:45. And we're still doing Zoom meetings for that. On December 10th, I attended the JDAI Zoom meeting, which is what Dan referred to. And that group is going to be meeting quarterly in the future. I think that we probably should add JDAI to our list of committee assignments for next year and the year after, because I'm the liaison on that right now. I don't think that's on our list because that was a new group. And I do think it'll be important for a commissioner to be participating in that in the future. So we should add that on there. And then Annie Broken Leg, who is the UJS employee that's working with JDAI, is going to be arranging for, Dan, if you've got the right name for this, you can correct me, an assessment in Brookings County on our juvenile stuff. Okay, and she's going to be here, I think, sometime the week of January 3rd, the third week in January. She will be making a reach out to the sheriff's office to talk about the juvenile cells at the new detention center and anything else that we're doing with detention on juveniles. So we should all be prepared. I think she'll be reaching out to other people in the community also. And then on December 16th, I attended the BEDC quarterly meeting. That was, if you all know this from what was in the news, December 16th was Al Hooten Day. And it was a good meeting, and there were a lot of nice things said, and he was told goodbye and thank you for the work that he'd done. And that's my report, but I did want to do a thank you of my own. I think this is Mike's last meeting as chair of the commission.
If we're fortunate, this should be my last meeting.
And I just want to thank
Hopefully.
you for everything you've done this year for us.
Thank you. Commissioner Boersma.
Fun stuff than meetings, thankfully. So the fourth decoration judging competition, which was intense. The competition was fierce. The finance office was really a step above the runner-up, which I didn't actually announce.
We know who that was.
Allegedly. So the finance office is getting lunch today on me. They had a gnome-themed Christmas office. It was fun. A couple of the gals dressed up in the whole 9 yards. It was really fun. And then the 16th participated in Career Palooza through economic development. So talked about being an architect to a bunch of high schoolers. Most of them were more concerned about what they will make when they get older than what the actual job entails, which is fascinating. Also participated in Secret Santa through the month of December. There were 26. That participation level is also unprecedented. It was a fun little opportunity to hang out with city county folks. And then actual real work on the 17th had a domestic abuse shelter board meeting and kind of finished out the year there via Zoom again. So tended to be that this month was higher than the use at the shelter previously. COVID had impacted the shelter in ways that we didn't really anticipate. And so use of those services had been down quite a bit, but all of a sudden in December, it was really busy again. So that would be my report.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Ryan, is your mic on?
Sorry. Had a meeting at BCOAC with Johnson Controls and Commissioner Jensen and Dustin there about HVAC and monitoring that. And so we're going to go over there. They had a quote for us. So we're going to continue to monitor that. The 16th, I was on the Zoom meeting for the BDC for a few minutes there when Al had his presentation, and that was very nice. I think it was, 50 some people were on that to congratulate him. So we all did that. So that was nice to see. And then on the 18th, I had a meeting with Beta in the Brookings School District, looking at a memorandum of understanding, trying to move forward on the combination unit of the bus garage and that kind of stuff. We're kind of getting to the point here where kind of all got to get signatures on on a piece of paper saying we're moving forward. So that I'm sure will be coming forward. They have to present that to the beta and also to the school board. And if we can get that done, that's a good first step for us to be prepared to, when a grant opportunity comes for beta, to keep working towards that and be ready to go. Because when those grants drop, you have a very short period of time to be ready to go. We want to have as much things ready to go to get that done. And then yesterday, I had a BCOAC meeting, our year-end meeting, and you heard a lot of the stuff we talked about there. We're working on a mission and then possibly a vision statement, and Dustin's done a great job this year. So that facility is going well. Revenue is going to almost hit our numbers, but expenses are definitely down. So year-end numbers are going to look really good compared to previous years, and so we're making steps forward, and we're making some good strides. So that's what I have. Oh, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner.
On the 15th, like Ryan, and we went over some HVAC issues, and we got some quotes coming in, and hopefully we can address those issues out at the Outdoor Venture Center. On the 16th, at a short extension board meeting via Zoom, it was noted how good the year went despite all the challenges, and congratulated Sonia on all the events that were actually held despite the COVID situation. The Winter Calf Show will be next week. It will be held out at the Swiftel Holding Barn again due to the fact they could not hold it up at the Animal Science Arena. So I stop out to that next week. I also participated in the Secret Santa event. I'd like to thank the event committee for coordinating all the events this year. It's much appreciated. Like to see the employees get involved with that. Yesterday, Ryan, we had an advisory board meeting, and I'd also like to say that Dustin's doing a good job, and our numbers are looking real well despite what we've been challenges we've had. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, December 3rd and the 17th, we're the performance of Henry Carlson Company up to this point and answering our needs and our questions and bringing things to the forefront beforehand. I've appreciated the way they've handled any of the complaints or suggestions from the neighborhood. There have been few, not very many, and they're on them right away. And they're also very concerned, and I think, well, Bart has left, but Bart and Dave Beitler both attend those meetings, and the coordination and the cooperation between the jail staff and the construction people are hammering on the walls and digging up their sidewalks and making all those things more difficult. They've been a godsend to these people going back and forth. They work well together. They're completing the projects on time and with a couple of exceptions here and there, which you would expect. So now I appreciate the jail's cooperation with the construction project, and those guys are really on top of it. So I think we're doing well there. At this point in time, December 10th, I attended the PPCC POD pod meeting on Zoom with Bob, and I think he's covered that already. We will be looking forward to whatever requirements come down the road. It's just fluid. We're going to have to sit and wait and see what happens. But again, I'd like us to make sure we're somewhat prepared with staffing needs we might need in the process for registration of people for that eventuality that I think will probably come in the spring. I'm going to guess more April, May type time frame. Participated in the Secret Santa. That was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I got some neat stuff. So I think everybody had a good time when Michelle coordinated this. So I appreciate Michelle's efforts. She's not here, but I appreciate her efforts in putting that together. I appreciate Commissioner Borges taking care of the decorating contest. I'm glad I didn't have to decide that contest winner. As I did visit all the offices and looked at all the different displays, and there was a lot of effort and time put into those, and it was appreciated, and I think it was a morale booster for everybody in a time where we needed those types of morale boosters, so I appreciated that. So with that, I hope you all enjoy your peanut brittle is a gift from my wife, actually, to all of you for putting up with me. If you see Bobby, thank her.
I need more.
I have a couple extras here yet. But anyway, I appreciated the last 2 years as your chairman. I'm looking forward to serving another 4 years on the county commission. And staff has been great. Stacy's been great. Everybody's been great. Appreciate the cooperation from the rest of the commissioners. You guys have all stepped up. You've all worked well together. Communications inside the meetings is appreciated. We always discuss things here publicly. We don't hide anything. I think the public appreciates that. I certainly appreciate that. So again, thank you to all of you and a Merry Christmas. And with that, we have an executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 125(2), parentheses 1, parentheses 4, and
6, personnel, contract negotiations, and security.
all right. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll move into executive session within about 5-10 minutes tops. Thank you.